It began on a silent night when the stars looked brighter than usual, almost like they were watching. Far from any city noise, a small village rested at the edge of wide grasslands. Children were asleep, farmers were dreaming of the next morning, and only the wind moved across the dark fields. No one knew that something powerful was coming toward Earth, something that did not belong to this world. At the center of this quiet place lived a 10-year-old boy named Raffi. He was small, fast, always curious, and always running into trouble. While other children stayed inside after sunset, Raffi liked to sit alone outside and look at the sky. He believed the stars were full of secrets, and somehow he felt the secrets were calling him. That night the call became real. At first he heard a deep vibration under the ground, strong enough to shake tiny stones around his feet. Raffi looked up. A bright blue light cut across the sky like a burning arrow. It was too fast to be a plane and too controlled to be a meteor. His heart beat faster, not from fear but excitement. He grabbed his small flashlight and ran toward the fields, not telling anyone. The light fell behind the old forest, the one even adults avoided at night. Strange sounds came from there, echoing clicks, soft growls, and once a roar no animal on Earth should make. People said a dangerous creature lived in those woods, but no one had ever seen it clearly. Raffi didn't believe the stories, at least not until tonight. When he reached the forest edge, the trees glowed with a soft neon blue. Something was inside, something that hummed with alien power. Raffi swallowed hard and stepped forward. His flashlight flickered, then died completely. But he didn't turn back. Inside the forest, he found a circle of trees burned by heat. At the center sat a huge metal object shaped like a broken sphere. It hissed gently, cooling down from its entry through the atmosphere. Strange symbols glowed on its surface. It was not a rock. It was not anything made by humans. It was a ship. Raffi moved closer. He should have been afraid, but his curiosity was stronger. He touched the metal. It was warm, almost alive. Suddenly the sphere cracked open with a sharp pop. Blue smoke escaped, and Raffi jumped back, covering his eyes. From the opening came a creature the size of a small dog but built like a tank. Its body was covered in thick gray fur, its claws sharp, and its eyes bright yellow. It looked like a honey badger, Earth's most fearless animal, but something was different. Its muscles were larger, its movements faster, and it wore a strange metal collar glowing with alien symbols. The creature sniffed the air, then growled. Raffi froze. Before he could run, another sound rose behind him, a deep metallic hum. He turned slowly. 3 tall figures stepped out of the darkness. Their skin was pale silver, their bodies thin but strong, their eyes large and black. They carried devices that pulsed with light. They were not human. They were not friendly. One of the aliens pointed at the honey badger creature and made a series of clicks. The creature bowed its head almost like it was trained. Another alien pressed a button on a controlled device and the honey badger tensed, ready to attack. Raffi understood instantly. They were training it. They were training it for war, and he had walked right into the lesson. The honey badger rushed toward Raffi with a roar that shook the leaves. Raffi dashed to the side, just fast enough to avoid the claws slashing at the ground where he had been standing. He didn't look back. He ran deeper into the forest, his breath sharp and fast. The aliens clicked in frustration. One pointed at Raffi and 2 chased him through the trees. The third stayed behind, adjusting the controls on the honey badger's collar. The creature growled, but something in its eyes changed when it looked at Raffi. Confusion, curiosity, maybe even hesitation. Raffi didn't notice. He just ran. He jumped over roots, slid under branches, and tried to stay silent, but his heart was pounding too loudly. The forest grew darker. The blue light faded. He needed to hide. He needed to think. These aliens were not here to explore or make friends. They were here for something more dangerous. He hid behind a fallen tree trunk, trying to calm his breathing. In the distance, he heard the aliens searching, their voices like mechanical whispers. Then came the growl again. The creature was following his scent. Raffi looked around desperately. His foot brushed something metal under the leaves. He pushed them aside and found a small black cube glowing weakly. It looked like a piece of alien technology knocked loose from the crash. He picked it up. The cube vibrated slightly in his hand like it was waking up. Raffi didn't know what it did, but he knew one thing: the aliens wanted it, and that meant he needed to keep it away from them. Suddenly, the creature appeared behind him. It didn't attack, it just stared. The yellow eyes softened, almost curious. Raffi lifted the cube. The creature's collar flashed at the same time, and the alien symbols on both devices matched for a brief second. The creature's growl faded. It stepped forward, slow and uncertain. Raffi didn't move. Then a sharp blue beam hit the ground beside him. Dirt exploded. The aliens had found him. They shouted in their strange language, ordering the creature to attack. The honey badger tensed. Raffi closed his eyes. But instead of lunging at him, the creature turned toward the aliens and roared with thunderous fury. The aliens stepped back in shock. Raffi didn't understand what had just happened, but he didn't waste the chance. He ran again, clutching the cube tightly. Behind him, the creature fought against its own trainers, and the aliens panicked, trying to regain control. The forest shook with the sound of claws and alien weapons. And somewhere in the chaos, Raffi realized something impossible. The creature wasn't just trained. It wanted to break free, and now it wanted him to survive. Raffi kept running until the forest thinned and the cold air scraped against his throat. His legs burned, but he didn't dare stop. Behind him, the sounds of battle still shook the trees. The creature's roar, the alien clicks, the crash of bending branches. Every sound reminded him that this was no dream. The world he knew had changed forever. He reached a small open field where the moonlight fell like silver dust. For a moment he allowed himself to breathe. The cube still vibrated softly in his hand, almost like a heartbeat. He stared at it, confused. Why had the creature stopped attacking when the cube glowed? Why did it defend him against the aliens who trained it? He lifted the cube again and shook it gently. Small symbols floated above it in blue light, like tiny holograms. Raffi couldn't read them, but he sensed they were important. Before he could study it further, a sharp crack echoed behind him. The trees shook. Something was running toward him, fast. Raffi braced himself. The creature burst out of the forest and slid to a stop only a few feet away. Its fur was burned in places, and one of its claws dripped with alien green blood. Its chest rose and fell rapidly, but it didn't attack. Instead, it looked at Raffi as if waiting for something. Raffi stepped back slowly. The creature tilted its head. They stared at each other for a long moment. Raffi realized he was no longer afraid. The creature had protected him. It didn't see him as an enemy. Maybe somehow the cube connected them. He raised the cube. The creature's collar glowed again, matching the symbols floating above the cube. The creature made a soft growl, not angry, more like communication. Raffi whispered, "You're not trying to hurt me, are you?" The creature blinked slowly. That was enough for him, but peace lasted only seconds. A beam of blue energy shot past Raffi's face and burned a hole in the ground. He spun around. Two aliens stepped out of the dark trees. Their tall bodies looked more threatening under the moonlight. One aimed a glowing device at the creature. The other pointed straight at Raffi. They were done training. Now they were hunting. The creature leapt in front of Raffi, blocking him from the weapon. The aliens clicked urgently to each other, clearly angry that their beast was no longer following orders. One alien raised a controlled device, the same one used earlier to command the creature. With a sharp metallic buzz, the creature's collar flashed red. The beast shook violently as if electricity surged through its body. Its legs trembled. Its eyes turned wild again. Raffi shouted, "Stop, leave him alone." The aliens didn't care. The creature let out a painful roar and fell to its knees. Its claws dug into the dirt as it fought the invisible force pulling at its mind. The collar glowed brighter, forcing it to obey. Raffi panicked. The cube in his hand vibrated stronger, reacting to the collar's red flashes. He didn't know how the cube worked, but he didn't need to understand. He needed to try something. He pressed the only button he could find. The cube exploded with bright white light. The ground shook. A wave of sound pulsed outward, knocking the aliens backward. Their devices flickered violently. The creature's collar sparked, the red light glitching into yellow, then blue. Suddenly everything went quiet. The creature stood again, free from pain, and stared at Raffi with new clarity. Its eyes softened. Its growl stopped. It stepped closer, almost gently, as if acknowledging him as something more than a stranger, possibly even a leader. The aliens recovered quickly. One screamed in a furious metallic voice, and both raised their weapons again. They fired at the same time. The creature moved faster than Raffi had ever seen. It grabbed him by the back of his shirt and threw him behind a fallen tree trunk just as the beams hit. The blast shook the ground. Dirt sprayed over Raffi's head. The creature roared and attacked. It moved like lightning, claws slashing, body twisting, dodging energy beams. The aliens were quick, but the creature's new freedom made it unstoppable. With one powerful leap, it struck the first alien and sent it crashing into a tree. The second alien fired wildly, missing again and again. Finally, the creature lunged, and both rolled across the ground in a blur of fur and silver skin. Raffi watched with wide eyes. The creature was fighting for him. Because of the cube or because it chose to, the first alien rose again, grabbing its weapon. Raffi reacted without thinking. He ran toward the fallen alien, the cube glowing in his hand. The alien aimed at him. Raffi ducked behind a tree just in time. He felt helpless. He had no weapon. He had no armor. But he had the cube. He pressed the button again. Another bright pulse shot out, this one smaller but more focused. It struck the alien's weapon directly. Sparks flew. The device melted in the alien's hand. The alien screamed and dropped it. Raffi blinked in surprise. He didn't know the cube could do that, but he didn't waste time. He grabbed a thick branch from the ground and swung it with all his strength. It hit the alien's head with a solid thud. The alien fell. Raffi stood there panting, shocked at his own courage. He didn't have time to celebrate. The second alien shoved the creature aside and aimed at Raffi again. Raffi held the cube tightly, but this time it didn't glow. It had run out of energy. The alien fired. The creature jumped in front of the beam. The blast hit it directly. Raffi screamed. The creature staggered backward and fell to the ground, smoke rising from its fur. The alien prepared another shot, stepping closer. Raffi didn't think. He charged at the alien with nothing but his fists. The alien tried to aim again, but Raffi grabbed its arm and yanked it down. The weapon fired into the dirt. The alien hissed and pushed him away easily, but Raffi didn't fall far. Before the alien could fire again, the creature rose. Its fur was burned, one leg shaking, but its eyes burned with fierce determination. It charged through the pain and slammed into the alien with full force. The alien flew back, hit a rock, and went limp. Silence filled the forest again. Raffi rushed to the creature and touched its head gently. "You saved me again." The creature growled softly, almost like a tired sigh. Raffi looked at the fallen aliens, the smoking trees, and the cube in his hand. He understood something important now. This was not just a small fight. This was the beginning of something much bigger. And he and the creature were now connected in a way he never expected. The night grew colder as Raffi helped the wounded creature limp toward the deeper part of the forest. Every few steps, the beast growled softly from pain, but it didn't stop moving. It walked as if it refused to show weakness, even in front of a child. Raffi wished he could carry it, but the creature was heavy and strong, far too big for him to lift even a little. He looked down at the cube in his hand. Its lights were dim now, almost dead. Whatever power had saved them twice was gone. Raffi hoped the cube could recover its energy, but he had no idea how alien technology worked. All he knew was that they needed a safe place, somewhere the aliens wouldn't find them while the creature healed. They reached an old cave hidden behind tangled bushes. Raffi had seen it before while playing with friends, but never dared to go inside alone. Tonight he had no choice. With one look at the creature, he pushed aside the branches and stepped in. The cave was cool and dry, with walls shaped by time rather than danger. The creature curled up near the back, breathing heavily. Raffi tore a strip of cloth from his shirt and pressed it against a burn mark on the creature's shoulder. It growled but didn't bite. Its eyes, usually fierce and sharp, were softer now, almost trusting. "You're going to be okay?" Raffi whispered, not sure if he was comforting the creature or himself. Outside, the forest stayed quiet, too quiet. Raffi's hands trembled as he looked toward the entrance. The bodies of two aliens were still somewhere behind them. He didn't know what happened to the third alien, the one who stayed near the crashed ship. He didn't know if more were coming. But he could feel something in the air, a tension like the forest was holding its breath. Raffi sat beside the creature, hugging his knees. He needed answers. Why were the aliens here? Why train such a powerful animal? Why did the cube respond to him? He lifted the cube again. When he tilted it, the faint blue symbols flickered weakly. Raffi squinted, trying to understand them. Suddenly, one symbol flashed brighter than the rest, projecting a small hologram in front of him. A shape formed, an outline of Earth. Lines appeared around it, arrows pointing toward the planet from different directions. Then another image flashed, hundreds of honey badger-like creatures, stronger and faster than the one beside him. They were wearing armor and charging into battle under alien control. Raffi's heart froze. The aliens weren't training one creature, they were preparing an army. The hologram changed again. This time it showed a small glowing mark on the Earth's surface, a location. When Raffi looked closer, he recognized the shape of land. The glowing mark pointed somewhere deep in the forest, maybe not far from where he was sitting now. Another hidden base, more aliens, more trained creatures. The cube started to dim again. Raffi tapped it lightly. "Come on, show me more," he whispered. But the light faded completely. The creature opened one eye, watching him. Raffi held up the cube. I think this thing wants us to go somewhere. The creature snorted softly, almost agreeing. Before Raffi could plan anything, a loud metallic sound echoed through the forest. The creature lifted its head sharply. Raffi ran to the cave entrance and peeked outside. Bright blue lights moved between the trees, several of them. The shadows revealed tall bodies, long arms, and glowing weapons. More aliens had arrived. Raffi's breath caught. They were searching. They were scanning, they were getting closer. He rushed back inside. They found us. The creature struggled to stand. Its legs shook, but it forced itself up. Even injured, it was ready to fight. Raffi grabbed the creature's fur to steady it. "No," he whispered. "You can't fight like this, we need to hide." But there was no deeper hiding place in the cave. If the aliens looked inside, they would see everything. The creature let out a low growl. It wasn't fear, it was anger. Raffi closed his eyes for a moment. He tried to think the way adults did, the way heroes in stories did. Running wasn't enough now. The aliens were too many, too strong, too prepared. He needed a plan. An idea hit him suddenly. "The crashed ship," he whispered. "They came to find it. If they're focused on the ship, maybe we can draw them away from here." He looked at the creature. "Can you move fast at least once more?" The creature blinked slowly. Raffi took that as a yes. He peeked outside again. The aliens were splitting up, scanning the ground and trees. They would reach the cave in minutes. Raffi's heart pounded. "We go now." He slipped out first, then guided the creature out of the cave. Every step was a silent prayer. They moved slowly through the grass, keeping low, staying behind shadows whenever possible. The blue lights passed dangerously close several times. Raffi held his breath until his chest hurt. When they reached a thicker part of the forest, Raffi picked up speed. The creature followed, its breathing rough but determined. The moonlight guided their path toward the crash site. Raffi knew this was risky, maybe even stupid, but he also knew the aliens wanted the ship more than anything. If he could lead them away from the cave, the creature might live. But when they reached the crash site, Raffi froze. The ship wasn't dark anymore. It was glowing. A new hole had opened on its side, and inside, several small containers were pulsing with blue light. Raffi stepped closer, recognizing symbols similar to those on the collar and the cube. These containers, they were full of more collars, hundreds of them. Raffi's stomach dropped. If the aliens retrieved these, they could control an entire army of creatures, maybe not just honey badgers, but any animal they captured on Earth. He turned to the creature. "We can't let them take these." The creature growled in agreement, but before Raffi could think of what to do, footsteps approached. The lights of the aliens swept through the trees, heading straight for the glowing ship. Raffi grabbed the cube. Nothing happened. He shook it again, still nothing. The creature stepped in front of Raffi, ready to defend him even in its injured state. Raffi whispered, "We can't win like this, but we can slow them down." He scanned the ship again. Near the back, he noticed a panel half detached from the crash. Behind it were wires and a small round core that glowed faint red. If Raffi had learned anything from cartoons and movies, a glowing core was always important. He ran to it, ignoring the creature's worried growl. His fingers shook as he reached for the wires. Behind him, the aliens finally broke through the tree line. Their weapons glowed. Raffi pulled the wires. The red core flashed bright, too bright. The ground shook. A deep humming filled the air, rising fast. The aliens froze. The creature screamed. Raffi covered his ears as the crashed ship began to power up with unstable energy. Something massive was about to happen. The sound rising from the crashed ship grew louder, shaking the ground like a heartbeat made of metal. Red light flashed through the cracks in the broken hull, and the air grew hot and sharp. Raffi stumbled back as the humming reached a frightening pitch. He didn't know if the ship was going to explode or take off or release something worse, but he knew one thing clearly. He had to get the creature away from here. The aliens realized the danger too. They clicked to each other in panic, waving their long arms. Some tried to run toward the ship, others backed away, unsure what to do. Their cold confidence was gone, replaced by fear. Raffi had never seen an alien look afraid before. It made his heart beat even faster. The creature growled weakly behind him. It was still injured, and even standing looked painful. Raffi grabbed its fur and tried to pull it away from the glowing ship. "Come on, we have to move." The creature resisted for a moment, staring at the ship with sharp eyes. It knew something important was happening. But when the ship's core let out a sudden electric scream, the creature finally stumbled away with Raffi. A bright shockwave burst out from the ship. The blast threw everyone to the ground, Raffi, the creature, and the aliens. Dust and burning leaves filled the air. Raffi hit the dirt so hard his vision turned white for a moment. His ears rang. When he opened his eyes, the world around him spun slowly. The ship's light faded at last. The humming died. Smoke rose from the broken core. Whatever power the ship had left was gone now, completely drained or destroyed. The aliens lay scattered across the ground, stunned but alive. The creature pushed itself up shakily. Raffi staggered to his feet, coughing. His hands shook as he checked the cube in his pocket. It remained dark, cold, silent. They had no alien power left to use. Raffi looked around. They had stopped the aliens from using the ship's technology, but now they were surrounded by enemies. The aliens were recovering, standing up slowly, their anger growing like fire in their dark eyes. Raffi whispered, "We need to run again." But the creature didn't move. It stared toward the cave direction, back the way they had come. It made a low, rumbling sound. Raffi listened carefully. The sound wasn't fear or pain. It sounded like warning. Something else was coming. A deep rumble echoed through the forest, different from the ship's hum. The ground trembled again, but this time it was not from alien machines. It felt heavier, slower, like giant footsteps or many footsteps. Raffi looked at the creature. The creature stared at him. He whispered, "What now?" Before he could move, a blue beam shot past him. The aliens were back on their feet and furious. One pointed at Raffi, the other at the creature. They were ready to kill, not capture. The creature leaped in front of Raffi again, but its injured leg gave way. Raffi quickly pulled it behind a fallen log as energy beams burned holes in the ground around them. "We can't fight them like this," Raffi whispered in panic. The creature lowered its head as if agreeing. Raffi peeked over the log, searching for a way out. The forest was too thin here, no rocks to hide behind, no caves, nowhere to escape. Then the rumbling sound grew louder. Trees shook. Leaves fell from above. The aliens paused and turned their heads sharply, sensing danger. Raffi didn't know what to expect. Another creature, another alien ship. But what emerged from the forest made his heart stop. A massive shape pushed through the trees, not one, several. They were honey badgers, but not normal ones. They were larger, stronger, with armor like fur and bright metal collars. Their eyes glowed faint yellow in the moonlight. They looked exactly like the creature beside Raffi, only bigger and healthier. A whole pack. The aliens reacted instantly. They raised their control devices, trying to activate the collars, but something was wrong. The collars flickered, but none of the creatures bowed. None obeyed. Instead, they growled deeply, their muscles rising like waves under thick fur. The aliens clicked louder, confused, trying again. Nothing. Raffi looked down at the cube. Even though it was dark, he wondered if the shockwave from the ship had broken the aliens' control signals. If that was true, then the pack was free. The creatures roared together, a terrifying, powerful sound that shook the leaves off branches. The injured creature beside Raffi tried to rise and answer the call, but only managed a soft, painful growl. Raffi touched its shoulder. "It's okay. You're not alone anymore." The pack rushed at the aliens. The forest erupted into chaos. Claws dug into metal armor. Alien beams blasted through the trees. The ground shook as the giant honey badgers rammed into their former masters with unstoppable fury. The injured creature tried to stand again, wanting to join its pack. Raffi helped lift it, and together they limped forward. But before they reached the fight, one alien noticed them. It aimed a weapon directly at Raffi. The creature jumped in front of him again, but this time its body was too weak. It stumbled, barely able to brace itself. The alien fired. A huge honey badger, one from the pack, leaped from the side and took the hit. It slid back, roaring in pain, but survived. Then it slammed into the alien, knocking it into the burning remains of the ship. Another alien swung its weapon at the pack leader. The leader dodged and bit down on the alien's arm. Metal cracked. Sparks flew. The alien screamed. Raffi watched, amazed. These creatures were unstoppable when not controlled by collars. Their strength was beyond anything he had imagined. But even with the pack, the aliens were fighting fiercely. They had numbers, weapons, and desperation. Energy blasts filled the forest. Honey badgers leaped through smoke and fire. Trees fell and dirt flew into the air. Raffi pulled the injured creature behind a rock to keep it safe. "Stay here," he whispered. "I'll help them." He didn't know how he could. The forest was silent again, but it was not the peaceful kind of silence. It was heavy, filled with smoke, broken trees, and the smell of burnt earth. Raffi stood in the middle of the battlefield, his hands shaking, his breath fast. The honey badger pack surrounded him in a loose circle. Their glowing collars flickered weakly, broken but not fully dead. Their fierce eyes watched him, not with anger but with something deeper, Respect, loyalty, maybe even gratitude. The injured creature limped beside Raffi and touched its head gently against his hand. Raffi smiled softly and scratched behind its ear. "You did great," he whispered. The pack leader stepped forward. It was huge, almost up to Raffi's chest, with powerful muscles and armor like fur. It stared at Raffi for a long moment. Raffi swallowed, unsure what it wanted. Then the leader lowered its head slowly. It was bowing. Raffi's heart felt warm. These creatures, strong enough to tear apart alien machines, were bowing to a human child. He didn't fully understand why, but he knew this moment mattered. Before he could think more, the ground trembled again. Raffi tensed. The pack growled, forming a defensive wall around him, but this time the tremble wasn't coming from behind them, it came from the sky. A shadow passed over the forest. Raffi looked up. A huge alien ship floated above the treetops, silent and deadly. It was 10 times larger than the crashed one, shaped like a sharp metal claw. Blue lights spun along its sides. It wasn't damaged. It wasn't landing. It was searching. The aliens weren't done. Raffi's stomach dropped. The new ship projected beams of light across the forest, scanning everything. If the aliens found the pack or the cube, they would return with more weapons, stronger control collars, and full power. This time the creatures might not escape. Raffi whispered, "We need to leave before they find us." The pack leader growled softly, agreeing. The injured creature nudged Raffi, urging him to mount its back. Raffi hesitated. He had never ridden an animal like this, but there was no time to think. "Okay, I'll try." He climbed onto the creature's back. It winced from pain, but stayed strong. The pack began moving through the forest, keeping low, avoiding the searchlights. Raffi clung to the creature's fur as they ran silently over roots, fallen logs, and burned patches of ground. The ship above grew brighter. A deep hum vibrated the air. The creatures stopped. Raffi looked up. One of the scanning beams was sweeping toward them. The pack scattered into the shadows, but Raffi and the injured creature were too slow. The beam passed over them, lighting the area like a spotlight. The ship paused. The beam locked onto them. Raffi felt his chest tighten. "No, no, please." A loud siren echoed through the sky. The alien ship adjusted its position, turning toward the forest where Raffi and the creature stood exposed. The pack leader growled loudly, signaling the others. They rushed back to Raffi, forming a protective circle once again. But a ship that large couldn't be fought on the ground. The aliens controlled the air. They had weapons too powerful for claws and strength alone. A deep metallic voice boomed from the ship, speaking in the alien language, cold, commanding, final. Raffi didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. They wanted the cube, they wanted the creatures, they wanted him. The ship's underside opened slowly, revealing a bright blue cannon charging with energy. Raffi's eyes widened. "No, they're going to fire at us." The pack tensed but looked helpless. Their muscles were strong, but they couldn't jump high enough to reach a ship in the air. Raffi grabbed the cube again and shook it desperately. "Please work, please, you saved us before." The cube stayed dark, the cannon brightened. The pack leader roared a warning. The injured creature crouched low, ready to shield Raffi with its body again, even if it meant dying. Raffi felt tears in his eyes. He didn't want the creature to die. He didn't want any of them to get hurt because of him. He looked up at the ship, fear turning into anger. "You don't get to take my friends." He slammed the cube against a rock. Cracks spread across its surface. The cube suddenly flashed, a weak trembling light, not blue but white. It hummed softly, then stronger. The alien symbols flickered alive again. Raffi held it high. A thin beam of white energy shot out from the cube and hit the sky. Not the ship, just the air below it. The beam spread, forming a round dome of light over the forest. The alien cannon fired. The blue energy hit the dome and bounced off. It scattered into the sky like sparks. Raffi stared in disbelief. The pack stared too. Even the creature blinked in surprise. The dome grew stronger, brighter, wider, spreading out like a giant shield. The ship roared with rage. It fired again, and again. Every blast struck the dome and shot away harmlessly. Raffi didn't know how long the cube could hold. He felt its warmth growing hotter, almost burning his hand. He knew the shield wouldn't last forever. The pack leader nudged him. Raffi understood instantly. They needed to move while the shield was still up. The creatures sprinted through the glowing forest, protected by the dome. Raffi rode the injured creature, gripping its fur tightly. The ship continued firing, searching, trying to break the shield, but they made it deeper into the forest, far from the crash site. At last, the cube flickered and the white dome vanished. The forest went dark again. The ship fired another blast, but it hit empty ground far behind them. The aliens lost their target. Raffi sighed in relief and slid down from the creature's back. His legs were shaking. The creature sank onto the ground, exhausted. The pack gathered around them, quiet, listening to the distant hum of the ship above. Raffi looked at the cube. It was dark again, but this time cracked, almost broken. He wasn't sure if it would ever work again. "Thank you," he whispered to it, even though it wasn't alive. He looked at the creature. "And thank you too, all of you." The honey badgers blinked slowly, their version of approval. Raffi sat on the ground, breathing hard. He realized something important. The aliens weren't just testing Earth. They weren't just training creatures. They were preparing for something bigger, something that involved this forest, these animals, and maybe even him. The war wasn't over. It had only started. The night sky still glowed with the faint blue lights of the alien ship, but it was moving farther away now, searching the wrong part of the forest. Raffi sat beside the injured creature, running his fingers gently through its rough fur. The pack stayed close, forming a quiet circle around them. Every few moments, one of the giant honey badgers growled at the sky, warning the ship even from a distance. Raffi stared at the broken cube in his hands. Its cracks sparkled faintly in the moonlight, but no lights came from inside. It was silent now, like a heart that had stopped beating. Yet even without power, Raffi felt something important about it, something unfinished. The injured creature nudged Raffi's arm. Its golden eyes, though tired and dim, still held a strange intelligence. Raffi whispered, "I know. We can't stay here forever." The pack leader made a deep rumble, then turned toward the darker side of the forest. It looked back at Raffi, waiting. Raffi stood, dusting off his clothes. "You want me to follow?" The leader blinked once. Raffi nodded and carefully helped the injured creature walk. The pack moved ahead, guiding him through paths only wild animals knew. Soon the trees thickened, the air cooled, and the forest changed into a place untouched by humans. Strange plants glowing softly grew near the ground. Stones were arranged in shapes that didn't feel natural. The creatures seemed comfortable here, almost like they were returning home. Raffi whispered, "What is this place?" They reached a wide clearing. At the center lay a huge stone structure half buried in dirt and vines. It looked old, older than any human building. Raffi stepped closer and brushed away dirt from one of the stones. Alien symbols were carved into it, the same kind that appeared on the cube. Raffi's eyes widened. "This isn't new. The aliens were here before, maybe long ago." The pack leader tapped a claw on the stone floor. A deep tremor moved under the ground. The stone door in front of them shifted open slowly, releasing a cold breath of air. Raffi hesitated. The injured creature nudged him forward. "Okay, I trust you." He stepped inside. The chamber beneath the clearing was enormous. Blue crystals lined the walls, giving off a soft, cold light. Strange machines, silent, broken, ancient, rested in the shadows. And at the center of the chamber was something that made Raffi's breath stop. A giant sphere floated above a stone table. Inside the sphere were hundreds of tiny, glowing lights. At first, Raffi thought they were stars. But when he stepped closer, he realized they formed a shape. A world, a map, Earth, lines connected different places on the globe, symbols floated beside each line. The same symbols the aliens used, the same symbols the cube displayed. Raffi understood slowly. The aliens weren't visiting Earth for the first time. They had been here before, maybe hundreds of years ago. They had hidden this chamber, these machines, this strange map. The honey badger creatures weren't an accident. They were connected to this place. Maybe they were meant to protect it. The pack gathered around the sphere, staring up in silence. Even the injured creature stood taller here. This was important to them. Raffi looked at the sphere closely. At the base of the floating map was a small slot shaped exactly like the cube in his hands. He hesitated. Is this what I'm supposed to do?" The injured creature pushed its nose against the cube, urging him. Raffi felt fear mix with excitement. He stepped forward and placed the broken cube into the slot. At first, nothing happened. Then the chamber shook. Lights flickered on. The machines hummed weakly. The sphere glowed bright white. The cube cracked further, releasing thin lines of light that crawled across the stone table like living energy. The pack growled and stepped back. Raffi shielded his eyes. A hologram appeared above the table. A tall alien figure stood there, not like the ones who attacked them. This alien looked older, calmer, wearing no weapons. Its voice was deep but not threatening, speaking in a human language translation. Message to future humans, if the invaders return. Raffi's heart raced. The hologram continued. These creatures were not made for war. They were made to protect Earth's forests. They are guardians. But the invaders corrupted our designs and twisted them into weapons. If they come again, only humans can free them. Raffi stepped closer, eyes wide. The hologram turned slowly as if looking directly at him. The cube can break their control, but only a pure mind unshaped by fear or greed can activate it. That power belongs to a young soul, a child. Raffi trembled, the hologram faded, silence filled the chamber. The creatures looked at Raffi now with a deeper meaning. They weren't bowing to him because he saved them. They were bowing because he was the one the message spoke about. Raffi whispered, "I'm supposed to help you." The pack leader nodded slowly, almost human-like. Before Raffi could speak again, the ground shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. The alien ship outside was approaching again, closer than ever. The aliens had found the ancient structure. The injured creature growled loudly. The pack formed up, ready to defend the chamber. Raffi grabbed the broken cube. It was still dead, but now he understood its purpose. It wasn't a weapon. It was a key that only he could use. He looked at the creatures. "We can't hide, we finish this now." They growled in agreement. Raffi climbed onto the injured creature one last time. The pack ran up the stone ramp and burst out of the ancient structure just as the alien ship descended low over the clearing. Weapons charged. Lights pulsed. Anger